Hi everybody, this is Let's Thrive and Shine Beyond Belief. This is the first video, so I'm really loving the idea of welcoming the lovely Lorraine Weselby and having a proper chat with her, and now I really appreciate her coming on and being the guinea pig. Um, and let's rise and shine beyond belief about, well, effectively it's about leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners that at one time or another have suffered, whether it's burnout, stress, anxiety, limiting beliefs, that imposter syndrome that occurs, but being able to come through the other side and being able to shape that in a way that they can either help others, serve others, and be able to thrive and shine themselves together and live a fulfilling and successful life. Now, who is Lorraine? So I met the lovely Lorraine a couple of years ago. We was both part of the Santander Women's Leadership Programme, and there was an instant connection. I'm not going to lie, it might have been a gin and tonic, which we've just been talking about. That and the fact that we're both sort of slightly bonkers, but also the fact that we love serving others. And I mean it in the most positive way, because one of the biggest things that we both learned is the power of saying no. So who is Lorraine? Lorraine, well, she's going to talk about herself a little bit more in a moment, but she's had a very busy career and life that she's going to share with you. But she started off in a successful fashion design and manufacturing retail business, and she will talk about that a little bit more and her story. But over to you, the lovely Lorraine. Please introduce yourself and what's your story?
That's what I love about people the most, isn't it? Their stories. So yes, I'm Lorraine Weselby. I'm going to be 63 in a few weeks. And I knew actually at the age of 5 exactly what I wanted to do. And I was the girl drawing, making things. And for 30 years, I had my own fashion design and manufacturing and retail business. Now, to the outside world, it probably looked like I had the perfect life and the perfect job. And to some extent, I did. But no one really sees what's going on in the background. So the parts people would see is I had celebrity clients, I had titled ladies, television clients, people like JK Rowling. And so these clients are generally quite demanding. JK Rowling wasn't, but a lot of them are. I designed a wedding dress range, bespoke evening wear range, as well as ready-to-wear women's collection. I did a project for Harrods, but mainly outfits were sold through my own retail business. I had clients that were very interesting, which is what people love. One of them was Europe's leading pediatric pathologist. And so she was always interesting, but I had a lot of regular clients that went to high-end events, and there was always a deadline. Everything had a deadline. So if someone was going to an event, it had a deadline. If it was a wedding, it was a deadline. And of course, brides never want measured till the last minute. Things would go wrong. So when the tsunami hit, and it was, I think, on Boxing Day that year, and I instantly felt for all the Thai people, and I've got some friends in that part of the world. And then my second thought was, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to my thousands of meters of Thai silk? So what I had to do is, the minute companies were back open, I had to scramble along with everyone else looking for fabrics that you knew you weren't going to get. Disasters happened. There was a £6,000 dress that on the final press, the iron decided to blow up and ruined it, and had to be done again. But on the whole, I loved helping people look and feel great, because sometimes you get maybe a mother of the bride isn't a confident person, and they're not really someone who likes to be in the limelight. So my role wasn't just to create the perfect outfit for the occasion. My role was also to help them feel confident. Now, I started off with just me, and then I built up to 15 employees plus outside manufacturers for bigger projects. But what ultimately happened as the years went on, and this is, really how society changes and how people going into employment look for different things. People were not coming out of education looking to do the handcraft type of work which was needed for me to be able to provide those outfits. Now, that's more so in the UK. In Italy and Spain, they still do a lot more of those handcrafts. But in the UK, every youngster coming out of education just wanted to be CEO and get that high salary going to the top, not really willing to work their way up. Now, I was also on the list and qualified to teach both university and school students and have them for placement. And I really love that. I absolutely love showing someone how they could do things and improve upon the skills that they had. And that has given me probably some of the greatest pleasure that I've had. But in this so-called perfect life, where people would see me going to amazing events and, you know, being invited to openings of things and fairly sociable, so I was out a lot, things started to change. So every time a member of my team left, I couldn't get people to replace them with the skill sets. And it got to a point where that was happening over years and everybody was just on more overtime. So what then happened was I got down in my last year of business to 6 staff. That's less than half, and we were producing the same. So you can imagine something had to give. Now, on top of that, I have crippling back problems, and I've got more metal in me than I care to really talk about. But there was an additional thing that came into that. So it was not enough people with skill sets. The market was starting to change. People didn't necessarily want to pay out for a bespoke outfit. We were becoming a quick throwaway society. Buy it now, wear it, take a picture, next. But on top of that, I was at an age, I was in my latter 40s, where it wasn't just perimenopausal, it was going into menopause. And when you're running a full-on business with high expectations, people chopping and changing their mind. Some celebrities' wives were the worst. And one girl actually wrote on the timesheet, beads on, beads off, beads on, I've given up, exclamation mark, you know. And I got where, normally being very confident and taking things in my stride, things that didn't affect me started to affect me. And I think that's as the female body changes. So I was having not quite enormous panic attacks, but I think I was having mini inwardly panic attacks, looking at a piece of fabric that was maybe worth a couple of £1,000, thinking, how am I going to make this pattern and cut this out? Where normally I would like to say I would do it with my eyes closed, but my eyes had to obviously be open to do it. And so I was losing a bit of me. On top of that, I was permanently on fire. And our workshops generally hot, even with doors open. I spent more time going out to cool and drinking gallons of water. And so something absolutely had to give. And the final straw was, I always had very heavy menstruation and I was having a really bad time. No painkillers were killing it. And my last client of that Friday, which was my day off, and I'd gone in for this client, beautiful bride, but the mother was not so great. And the dress only needed, it had like a halter neck that tied at the back that formed a train. And all it needed was for it to be tied on her and for her to say how long she wanted it. And it had to be cut on her. Now, I was wearing a kind of waist metal back brace, and none of my team were prepared to do it because it was very expensive fabric. You had to have a very steady hand. So there I was crawling on the floor in a back brace when I could hardly bend, making this perfect. So it came off, it was the end of the day, and I said to one of the girls, right, I said, the last thing is for you to just seam that, press it and hang it up. They're coming for it tomorrow morning. And she said, Lorraine, I feel really bad. You've come in on your day off and these people have taken a lot of time. And I said, well, as long as they're happy, that's all that matters. So I went home quite exhausted, and I woke up in pain, tummy pains, etc. at 3 a.m, quite a heavy period. And I sat on the sofa, my other half was still out, and a lone tear actually ran down my face just as Ian came in. Now, I'm not one of these people that cries very often. I don't know why, I just don't, because I'm too happy, I suppose. And he just said, oh my God, what's wrong? And I just turned to him and I said, I can't do this anymore. Now, I've admitted the bit that made that happen. And what made it happen was, just as I was about to get into bed, somehow they got my home landline number, my last client of the day. And the mother of the bride phoned me and she said, I'm not happy. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. Why are you not happy? And she said, I think the train should be the length that you had it. My daughter wanted it shorter. And I've just told her it has to be longer. I said, well, when we were doing it, I said, I can't stick it back on once it's cut. She said, I know. She said, but I know you'll have extra fabric, so you can just remake it and make it that length. And I said, well, it will cost you extra. She said, well, I don't see why. And I said, because I said, I'm going to use another 5 meters of fabric. And she said, but we want to collect it in the morning. I said, well, you can't now if you want it changed, because it's got to be unpicked from where it is and it's all got to be recut and set in. Well, we'll come at the end of the day. And I said, look, I'll go in early and I'll recut it and I'll phone one of the girls and see if she'll come and do overtime. It's the only way you're going to get it. And it was at that point I thought, I have bent over backwards to please people. And normally I would just take that in my stride and probably give, a most suitable answer. But I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep doing that amount of work with half the team. I can't, and I like the bespoke work the most. I can't keep, when I'm feeling like this, feeling stressed out. And I just thought, and where do I go going forward? So that was Friday going into Saturday. So on the Monday, I said to the team, we always had a team meeting on a Monday morning. And I said, I have an extra something I would like to share. And they said, can we share something first? And I said, yes, of course you can share something first. And they obviously could see what I couldn't see happening to me. And they said, we think you keep this business going for us, and we can see how hard you work. We can see how difficult some of these clients are, and we're just letting you know it's okay if you want to wind up the business. Well, for the second time in a year, a tear ran down my face. And 2 of them said that they were going to be moving away within the next 6 months to a year. One said that she was going to be retiring because she'd retired twice and come back to help me. And it was just leaving me a few others, but there was still redundancies to pay. So I said, right, okay. And it took a year to wind that business up. I thought that I'd be able to get someone to come in and buy it. I had 2 ladies who worked together, came to look at it, and they said, we can't do this. It's too much hard work. And there was 2 of them to run the business and one of me. And I said, yeah, but you can have a team. They went, it's too hard. So it cost me $250,000 to wind my business up. Luckily, I own the commercial property, which I rent out, and it's slap bang city centre of Edinburgh. So that was one thing I was really grateful for, that I had been savvy. But that $250,000 wasn't just sat there. I don't know very many people in business that just have $250,000 just sat there. So I think that was where it kind of came to a head. And I think, when things are going to require change, they go on and then they really come to a head. And for me, it came to a head at the end of 30 years. So yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, which is, quite a journey. And as you turn around and say, I mean, I know you, and I know we've got quite similar sort of traits, and one of them is that not crying very often, although I have to say since 2020 that's probably happened to me more. And it was probably one of the things that I should have done that I didn't do, because I wasn't actually shedding some tears. But you're right, it's funny how one moment, you can cope with everything, and the next minute everything becomes overwhelming. And that's when then you go, something needs to change. So tell me, Lorraine, so what did you do after that? What changed in your life? And what did you do to help you feel so much better, other than relinquishing your business, so?
Well, I actually felt really sad, and I live not far. I mean, I can walk there in 10 minutes, and I couldn't walk past my property. I mean, I got it rented out straight away. I finished on a Saturday, and it was rented. They were moving in on the Monday, so I couldn't walk past my building. I actually, and it would be where I would walk past a lot, because a lot of places that I go, and I went the long way around because I was really sad. But luckily, I am also a fully qualified style image consultant. So I thought, right, that's fine. I will do some style image consultancy. Companies were always after me to do things, but I just latterly didn't have the time, and I loved it. So I thought that's fine. But of course, we went through a triple dip recession again. In fact, when I bought my commercial property, we hit a triple dip recession. So there's something about significant things going on in my life that bring a triple dip recession. Anyway, so I thought I'll keep that on. Well, of course, companies were then cutting back budgets, and there was less of that. And then I was at a lunch, and a girlfriend had taken the package in terms of early retirement with her job with the Observer and the Guardians, and I knew it had all kind of gone wrong. So I said, you want to stay on after the lunch and catch up? And I just said to her, look, is there anything I can do to help? Which was funny, because really I also needed help. And she said, I've become an independent consultant with a global health and wellbeing company. And I said, are you using their products? She said, yes. Why? I said, well, I've been looking across thinking, you and I use the same products, the same skincare. How come you're 5 years older than me and you're looking phenomenal? And she said, yeah, I've been using them for a month. And I said, well, how does it work? And she said, well, every time you recommend something and it turns a sale, you get paid. And I said, oh, I recommend everything I love. And I said, and you and I have always used the same, so I'm up for using these. And I said, how does it work? She said, well, do you want to be a customer, or do you want to, I'd love you to be on the team. I said, well, on the team, do I get paid? She said, yeah. I said, right, okay, let's order a bottle of wine. I'm in. Now, this just shows you what kind of person I am. I didn't really ask the name of the company. I didn't know it was a network marketing company, and I didn't know anything about the business. That's because she didn't really know anything about the business, but I jumped in because it was about trust. You know, I'd known her a long time and I trusted her. And I would say that is one of the best decisions I have ever made in my entire life. Not just because it created a recurring income stream, you know, and helps with that dwindling pension pot for most people, or maybe they want to buy a house or holidays for kids or just a bit of extra in their pocket, but also I get to use some of the best products on the planet, keeping me healthier and younger for as long as possible. So yeah, so I did that. And then of course, as some styling and fashion things picked up, you know, you can do both. So it's definitely a great way to have time leverage as well, because you can work part-time hours, you can work full-time hours, whatever it is. And for me, the things I was looking for, someone said, what is it you want when you wind up your fashion business? I said, I want another business. I don't want the overheads, because I had high overheads. It cost me, way back 13 years ago, it was costing me £25,000 a month to open my doors. That's before you even sell anything. So I didn't want to have to open and close at set time. I didn't want the high overheads, and I didn't really want to pay staff and because you have to pay staff no matter how busy you are or how much profit you do or do not make. But I still wanted to help people earn an income, and I still wanted to teach people things. And so absolutely ticked all my boxes. And also being able to work from anywhere. You know, I can literally work from my phone.
Yeah, although arguably I do know you love doing all your networking meetings face to face, because obviously you hate talking. But
Absolutely.
the thing is that that's one of the things. If you love people and you like talking and you also like helping people, you know, what's not to love? And as you know, you and I both know, I mean, I know this isn't actually about the Arbonne product, which, you know, both you and I are serving now. You know, the reason why both you and I have fallen in love with it is because our starting point was really to help either ourselves or somebody else, you know. And in my sense, it was really my husband, and you introduced it to me, and it's been like a game changer for him in so many ways. I mean, actually, the biggest thing is he has to cut his nails on a regular basis now. But I mean, as you turned around and said as well, I mean, what are you, 63, and you look sensational. So it's obviously working its magic. That's on a separate topic, because I know you and I can talk about that for ages. So my question is that when there were tough times, I know actually you was talking about your why recently on one of our team calls, and you was talking about your lifestyle, and you said, you know, like, well, so one of the questions I've got, and it leads in nicely to that, is, you know, during tough times, did you ever go to comfort food or guilty pleasure that helped you to unwind and stay motivated?
Well, obviously it was gin and tonic. But not, and the thing is, we at the end of the day in my fashion business would have gin and tonics, and we would have lots of posh crisps and dips. So we would have finished work, and when we were tidying up, doing things, it was someone's job to make the gin and tonic, someone's job to do the cashing up, and we mixed it round, tidy up. So everybody was a gin drinker except one. She was a vodka drinker, but she became a gin drinker. So for me, it would be gin, tonic and crisp, and that would be a bit of a wind down. But then I would go out after and have more, you know. So I wasn't just limiting it to one. But I think one of the things that helped me, because, you know, I was always at we used to call them discos, but now they call them clubbing, don't they? But, you know, I would be twirling around the disco, and I think that was a great release, you know, being on a dance floor. You know, there's nothing much you can do except think about the music and where your feet are going, unless you've got two left feet, and then you're really stuck.
that doesn't make any difference. I mean, my lovely brother that's passed away, John, he was never known for his dancing prowess, but he never stopped dancing. From the moment music started playing, he was on that dance floor and he enjoyed every single moment. And, you know, it's a really, really beautiful thing to see, and also great memories that you have with someone. But yeah, and I mean, apart from, you know, you turn around and say like the drink in the evening, because I think you turned around and said, you know, you had the drink that was sort of at work, then you was at the club, but then you then got up stupid o'clock in the morning and did a normal day again. And that's the thing, is that just constant cycle that you're on and never stopping and not actually taking time out for yourself and breathing. And as you turn around and say, is that when you've got a team, you feel so responsible for them and their future. And I know myself, you know, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was putting my entire team at risk. And that has a massive impact on you. So you was quite fortunate in one way that it was actually your team that recognised, you know what, Lorraine, it's okay, because you feel that responsibility for everybody else, but they're all adults. And at the end of the day, they can find their own work the same way as you had to. So
Yeah, I loved my team. In fact, you know, whatever I've done in life, I've loved the people I've worked with.
yeah, and it is so important. And I think that's the thing that actually keeps you going. I know when I was in the corporate world, the thing that kept me at that business was the people that I surrounded myself in, whether it was my peers or, you know, my reports or also my team. We all loved each other. It was more like a family, and it makes such a difference, because if you've got that environment that's toxic, it makes it even harder, doesn't it? So, and I mean, yes, there were individuals like that, but it was outside of my area, reports, for, you know, peers and that. If I'd have been around that all the time, I would have had to leave much sooner. So if you was going to be recommending a book for listeners to improve their mindsets, whether that's with preventing burnout or stress or imposter syndrome or limited breath, what would be your go-to book and why?
Oh, can I have more than one?
You can, so go on.
Well, I think I'm going to have to say your book, From Burnout to Bliss. You see, I didn't read any of those kind of books when I was burnt out, because I obviously didn't really recognize I was burnt out. But having read this, you know, what I love about this is it's not too long, it's easy to read, and it's got good sound tips to help you live in a blissful state, you know. And I think when someone's burned out, if you hand them like 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, is, if you've read that, it is a meteor book. There's a lot of it, small writing, I think like thousands of pages. When you're burnt out, you don't have the concentration to read that kind of book that's you're having to overthink about, because you're already, your brain's, you know, charging round at a rate of knots. So I think I love the fact that it's just the right size. The writing is big enough for someone like me. So yeah, I would say that that would be, you know, a great book. But I think there are books like this one, I think, you know, for anyone in business, like The Slight Edge. You know, if we just do something a little bit different, it can just be small choices daily. So, you know, if you're busy in a business, you know, and if every day you just spend an extra 10 minutes walking in fresh air or something, it's the slight edge. Or, you know, instead of going for the crisp and dip, think, okay, I'll have a carrot and some iced water or whatever it happens to be. You know, just I think little differences would be something I would ask. And then I think, you know, learning to manifest your desire, something like Asking It Is Given. You can see I've got lots of notes in this one. But yeah, I think that not all one book does, but definitely, you know, if people are getting to the burnt out stage, your book is an absolute must. But I think just making daily slight difference changes, i.e. the slight edge. But again, manifest, Asking It Is Given. And, you know, if you kind of put all those into place, you can't go much wrong.
Well, thank you for that fantastic promotion then. And
Well,
it's an interesting point. Sorry?
I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. You know
I
me.
know, I do know that. And it's interesting, one of the things that you said there, and this is something that is so important for you listeners that are out there, is that quite often we're so stuck in the moment and spinning plates and going at 1,000 miles an hour, or distraction, and we don't actually realize that we're heading towards burnout. And that is such an important thing. Start listening to your body, start recognizing them when you're feeling stressed, and what might be driving that. And just remember there are two things here, that stress and burnout are two completely different things. And the difference between stress, that's okay as long as it's manageable stress for the right reason. It's stress when you're actually creating that and you're getting, as you say, Lorraine, is that you're starting to feel anxious, you start feeling the panic attacks, or you shoot from the hip, you're getting really snippy and all those kind of things. Whereas burnout is a different thing. And most people, when it does finally happen, because they haven't been listening to the signals in their bodies, when they stop, that's it. You stop for not just a month, it can be months, 6 months, a year, and you just completely shut down. And it's very, very hard to actually come out of that spiral unless you've got the mindset that can shift that. But even with someone that's quite resilient, and I mean, both yourself, and myself are very resilient people. And the problem is when you're very resilient, is that you're more likely to get hit a wall twice as hard. Because it's rather like when you go on holiday, how many people, they go on holiday, if they're in that 1,000 miles an hour mode, the first couple of days, they're not actually feeling well because the body's gone, all right, you finally stopped. Thank you. It's like, can you stop a little bit longer? It's like, and then you go into that dread of going, oh, I've got to go back to work on Monday. So when you're starting to feel that way, start listening to yourself. It's really, really important. So another quick question. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self to do differently?
Oh, there's quite a lot. So one is I would do everything I've done. And interestingly, because I've got an online network marketing business, if I was back 21 again, which is when I set my business up, I would actually then start a network marketing business because I had to borrow money from the bank. And sometimes you wanted more money than they were ever willing to give you to really do those incredible global projects. So I would actually start a network marketing business, become savvy, smart, and have that extra money, which would help fund my fashion business and build up to a pension pot. So I'd do that. And I think always having a second business that gives you recurring income is great. Let's face it, when my business wound up, no other income from the actual business. I would say look after your gut health and just be aware of your nutrition intake. Dare I say it, drink less alcohol. And also start reading personal development books at an earlier age. It was later when I then read them. And I would say, take time to do nothing. I would be, getting up at 6, going to the gym, doing that full on step class dance workout, opening up my business, going straight out after. But I think take time to do nothing, whether that is just sitting, maybe, meditating or listening to some music, but not running around at, a million miles an hour. And now what I know about what goes in products in life, I would be looking always for products that don't have the nasty preservatives and chemicals. So yeah, because lightening your toxic load. So yeah, there's a few tips.
Yeah, and actually they're great ones. We was only talking about that earlier, is that we've just embarked on the 30-day for healthy living. We just completed it, which means no coffee, no tea, no alcohol. I mean, neither of us do processed food anyway, but it's also about improving your gut health and all those kind of things. But the biggest thing that it came for me, and although I've done it in the past where I don't drink sort of wine for a month or something like that, is that when I did have a drink on Friday night, I realised how rubbish I felt on Saturday. And it's actually made me think, I shouldn't be drinking at all during a week at all. And when I do have a drink, it might be when you're going out and enjoying a meal with someone, or going to a party. And in fact, we were talking about an alternative solution that sounded really good, which is really healthy. So yes, it's amazing how that reset makes a difference. And the other thing is that quite often people think that they've got to do that another 5 minutes, another 5 minutes, another 5 minutes. And the reality is you can keep on going, but it's not going to make any difference. So you do need to stop. I mean, that's one of the phrases that I say, isn't it? It's like, just stop. No, I mean, stop. And that's it. Nothing more. And it's rather like no is a sentence. And you can finish it off with a no thank you, but you don't have to justify yourself either. So I've got one last question, and it's more for fun than anything. So if you had a burnout playlist, what songs would be on it to lift your spirits during a challenging moment?
Oh my gosh. Well, it could be Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. Oh, and it's funny, because I kind of my dancing years grew up, there was lots of sort of 70s and 80s, so probably a lot. So any of those ones that anything you could twirl on a dance floor. I love Candy Stanton, Young Hearts Run Free, anything like that. It's got to be. I mean, I'm regularly seen dancing around like Madonna, and it was funny because someone said to me, one of my tips was in life, prepare for impact, and they said, "What's your second one?" I said, "Have a go-to tune."
Yeah, and it has a massive list, because music is so emotive and can influence your moods one way or another. I mean, sometimes it's quite nice to have sad songs, because sometimes it triggers you to have a bloody good cry, and it's actually really healthy. People have this sort of shame about crying, and particularly with men, they feel that if they're vulnerable in front of others, that they'll be judged, they're seen as weak and everything like that. And the reality is that's so not true. And if you actually can have a good cry, it releases so much rubbish, doesn't it? So either that, or just have an outburst, or do you know what? Just go and ask for some help. It's okay to say, do you know what? I need some help, or I might be a bit snippy today. I might have had a row with my wife or my husband, or something's happened on the way to work, or something like that. It's okay. We're human. Things happen, accept it. But yeah, and I have to say, I do love that, the old disco songs, Disco Inferno or something like that. Or one of my favorites is obviously the Faithless one, which is God is a DJ and Insomnia and all that, like just nothing like that, and a massive dance. So I mean, obviously you've given some tips that you would give to others at all. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with as any guidance, Lorraine? And if people want to find you in any way, where would they find you, Lorraine?
What I would say as a tip, because I said prepare for impact, and I think, I wasn't totally prepared for it. But what I would say is, whatever method of earning a living is for you, ask yourself, am I adding value to people and the planet? I think that, whenever we help other people, then, it always makes us feel great. I think the next thing was, where can people find me? So yes, Lorraine Weselby on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm Laurie Wes, lorraineweselby.arbonne.com. But you probably want to reach out to Keely, since she's part of my amazing community in Arbonne. My ultimate offer, my top offer to you, is to serve you by either coaching and mentoring you to earn a recurring income and/or upgrade your health through the incredible business and the products.
Fantastic, Lorraine. Appreciate that. So anything you want to leave us with at all, or are you happy where we are?
Where we are, but I would just say, just every day, get up, positive affirmations, gratitude, and smile. I smile a lot, and I think it also helps keep me young. So this face has had nothing done but using some of the best products, but I think smiling lifts you. When I don't smile, I do look older.
It does. It is much better for you smiling, and it does give you a positive mental attitude. And the thing that you said here is that when we wake up in the morning, ultimately we have a choice. Guys, girls, life gets in your way, crap happens. There is nothing you can do about it, but what you can do about it is how you respond to it rather than react. And that is the difference. We have a choice to be happy or sad. Choose happy. So anyway, thank you so much, Lorraine. I really appreciate you being on here, and the first guest of all for the whole Let's Thrive and Shine Beyond Belief podcast. And I'm looking forward to the next ones, as well as you, my beautiful Lorraine. So anyway, take care.